Hey loves, welcome back to my channel, and for those of you that are brand new, my name is Candace and welcome to my channel. So one question I get asked so much is how much do we spend for our IVF cycle and how do we pay for our IVF cycle? So you guys know we are nowhere near rich. We're just a regular average couple that were blessed enough to be able to pay for 2 IVF cycles and eventually lead us to have our miracle baby Victory. So in this video, I'm going to give a breakdown of how much we paid for our IVF cycles and how we paid for our IVF cycles. And I'm also going to give you guys 2 programs that I've mentioned in a previous video, how to pay for your IVF medication. So I'm going to go ahead and get right into the video. I'm going to be as detailed as possible because I know there are a lot of you out there that are just looking for information just to get an idea of how much an IVF cycle costs. And so hopefully you guys will find this video to be useful and to be informative and will help you in deciding if you can do IVF, if you should do IVF, if you can afford IVF, and all that good stuff. So the way IVF works is you usually pay a base price, and then that base price includes a number of things, and then any additional things that you want to do, you have to pay for those. So in one of my previous videos, I explained it like IVF being a main course or being a main dish, and then everything else that you want will just be like a la carte. Like if you want chicken, so this will be IVF, and then you want to add like some sides, those will be all the other things that you add, like PGS and ICSI and all those things. So that's pretty much how IVF works, at least that's in my experience. You pay one big price and then you add on everything else that you want to add on to. So for our IVF cycle, we spent $6,200 as a base price. And so with the base price, that includes IVF consultation, that includes your baseline ultrasound. Your medical teaching is when they teach you how to do your injections. That also includes your egg retrieval, assisted hatching, when they hatch your embryo to give you a better chance of having success for implantation. That also included embryo biopsy, freezing, thawing, and transfer. That's for the biopsy is for the PGS testing, the pre-genetic screening. And it also included a 6-month storage, so you actually have to pay to store your embryos at the facility. So the $6,200 included all of those things, but there were tons of things that it did not include. So the new patient consultation was $200, so that's just to go and even decide if you can do IVF or if IVF is right for you. So that was $200. Our blood work, so anything prior to starting your IVF cycle is not included in that base price. So all of the blood work that we did, just to let the doctor know where we are as far as like my numbers, as far as all the different things that he kind of needs to look at to even see if IVF is right for me. So that was not included. That was $200. All of the ultrasounds prior to my IVF cycle were also $200. I also did a sonohystogram prior to my IVF cycle, which let the doctor go in and take a look and make sure that my uterus was all clean, that there weren't any polyps or any fibroids or anything that would hinder me from having a successful transfer, $300. And a semen analysis for my husband was $100. So we also did PGS testing, which was additional $2,000. Another thing that was not included was ICSI, which is when they take 1 sperm and 1 egg and make an embryo, which is supposed to give you an increased chance for success for having good, healthy, quality embryos, especially if you're dealing with a male factor infertility. So that was $500. And although the egg retrieval was included, the anesthesia for the egg retrieval was not included, which was another $300. And although our IVF cycle did include storage for our embryos, we had to pay an additional $500, and we have to pay $500 a year to store our embryos there. And then the last thing was medications, which is completely separate from your IVF cycle. Medications can run anywhere from $3,000 to $5,000, and we were blessed enough to be able to have our medications included with our insurance, and we just had to pay a copay. So in total, our first IVF cycle was $10,500. And then when we did our second IVF cycle, because we had paid for some things in the first IVF cycle, like our PGS testing and what else? And some of the things we didn't have to redo, like I didn't have to do more blood work because he already knew where my hormone levels were. So some things we didn't have to pay for twice. And in the second IVF cycle, I did an additional medication, which was the HGH, which is a human growth hormone omnitrope, and that was $1,230 for one medication. So I did have to pay for that out of pocket, and I think that's really it. So in total, we spent around $20,000 for 2 IVF cycles. So on average, you can expect to spend between $10,000 and $20,000 for one cycle, depending on your doctor, depending on your medications, depending on all the additional testing that you want to do. If you want to do other additional genetic testing on your embryos, and there's a whole host of things. I also did the ERA test in my second IVF cycle, and so that was an additional $700. And so the cost of your IVF cycle is really going to depend on all of the things that you want to do additional. If you want to do additional testing, most people do choose to do additional testing in their IVF cycle. So that is how much we spent on our 2 IVF cycles, and that's a breakdown of how much everything costs. How we pay for our IVF cycle is, number one, we had a little bit of savings. We did not have $20,000 in our savings. We had a little bit of savings to put towards our IVF cycle. And then we got a 0% credit card. I do not condone getting into debt if you don't have to, but this is how we pay for it. So we got one of the credit cards that when you sign up, you get 0% interest for like 18 months. So that gave us a chance to pay it off without paying a whole bunch of interest on it. And then we also, like I said, we had most of our medications paid for by our insurance, so that was a major savings. So there are 2 medication programs that I do want to mention real quick, and one of them is the Compassionate Care program, and one is First Steps, and I will link those down below if you guys want to check those out and see if that's something that you qualify for. But IVF is so expensive, and it's a gamble because you have no idea if it will work the first time or if you need 5 IVF cycles. It's just unfortunate that we have to spend so much money to have the chance to be able to have a baby. And for some couples, unfortunately, IVF is just out of the question because it is so expensive, and the average couple just doesn't have $10,000 or $20,000 lying around that they can spend to try to have a baby. So that is pretty much a breakdown of how much we spent in our IVF cycle. So as I said, you usually pay a base price, and then you add in whatever it is you want that you feel is necessary for you, and that will give you the total of how much you will have to spend for your IVF cycle. And hopefully you won't need more than one cycle, because it does get really expensive if you do. So I hope you guys found this video to be useful, and I hope that it answered some of your questions. If you guys have any more questions, please let me know down below in the comments, and I'll be happy to answer them for you. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you are not a part of my little family, please be sure to hit the subscribe button down below so that you don't miss any of the videos that I will be posting. Thank you guys. Have an amazing week, and I'll be back next time with another video. Bye.